Okay, some bonus videos from the Tennis Crier at the request of my good buddy Chris Woods, who wanted to get some Davis Cup information for this weekend. I personally think team tennis, which is Davis Cup for the men, Fed Cup for the women, and then the mixed but men and women is the Hopman Cup, and the Hopman Cup happens in January. But I do think that after the Grand Slams, these are the biggest events on the calendar year. Some would disagree with me. I think that team tennis in general, including world team tennis in the United States, pretty much run by Billie Jean King, started by Billie Jean King, is a great way to make this sport more popular and bring a whole nother element into the tennis world, a team sport, and it's great for the countries and team atmosphere and everything. I would also say that another underrated part of the tennis season is the season-ending World Championships in the WTA, which is the women, the ATP, which is the men, and also the Challenger Circuit. But a lot of casual fans don't realize there's a battle between the top 8 men and the top 8 women at the end of the year for supremacy for that season. So that's another thing that should be more popular. Anyways, Davis Cup and Fed Cup are run pretty similar, and they have the same kind of structure pretty much. Hopman Cup's different, but I'll talk about that another time. Davis Cup and this is the same as Fed Cup. You see, this is the Davis Cup site. It's a really nice site, a lot of good organization, all the history, archives. You can get all kinds of audio, video. Craig Gabriel does a great job with his cohorts and all kinds of giving all kinds of great information. But as you see in the structure here, you have the World Group, which is the top of the list. It's the top, and that's where teams battle out. In the Fed Cup, they have it split into World Group 1 and World Group 2. The men just have one World Group. So for the women, it's I think 8 teams and 8 teams, whereas the men it's 16 teams altogether. And then there's World Group playoffs. For the women, they have to have a World Group 1 playoffs and a World Group 2 playoffs. And then there's a Group 1, a Group 2, a Group 3, and a Group 4 you see at the bottom. For the women, they only have Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3. There's not as many teams. So all these teams, are a country. It's a nationality. Any country can join. It takes money, it takes other things, and there's been some loss of countries over the year. The bottom groups, the whole goal is to get to the higher group. So the Group 4 is trying to get to Group 3. Group 3 is trying to stay in Group 3 or get to Group 2 and not get relegated down to Group 4. And then the same for Group 2. They're trying to not get relegated to Group 3, stay in Group 2 and maybe move up to Group 1. Same with Group 1. They're trying to get to the very top, the World Group. Once in the World Group, you have a first round of playoffs, a round of 16 in February, and then and it changes. These dates aren't the same every year, but it's been the same for a couple of years here. But in April, you have the quarterfinals. Now and then after that, we have the slams, pretty much to the French, Wimbledon, U.S. Open, and then right after the U.S. Open, you have the semifinals, and then the final will be in November. So right now we're in the semifinals. Now, all these groups have different schedules, and some of them are already completely done. For instance, let's start right at the bottom. We'll go to Group 4, and you can see here in Group 4 that you have, this is the Americas and Asia, Oceania. You no longer, in fact, you no longer have Europe or Africa. There's actually so many teams in Group 3 and Group 2 and Group 1 that they just, for some reason, they don't split them all the way down to Group 4. The Americas no longer, as you see here, they no longer have a Group 4 either. So only one's left, Asia, Oceania. And you can see a lot of these countries. Group 4 and Group 3 play a round robin. So they all play in one spot. This particular time, it's in Dubai. It's an outdoor hard court, which I can tell you it's DecoTurf, a sandy DecoTurf because it's pretty quick weather there, the desert, and the Wilson U.S. Open ball. So all these teams battle it out in a round-robin format, and there's only 2 pools because there's only 8 teams or 10 teams or whatever, and the top are going to progress to a Group 3. And then there's nothing to go lower, so nobody gets relegated. So whoever wins out here goes to Group 3 for next year. They are playing September 9th. They play the whole week long. The bigger groups only play the weekend. But these guys play the whole week long, like I said, in a round-robin format, and they play every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like, for instance, each day they play three what they call ties. The matches are called ties. I'm sorry, the matches are called rubbers, and the overall battle is called a tie, though. For instance, let's say Bangladesh plays Singapore on Monday. They will play 2 singles matches and a doubles match. So that will be 3 rubbers for that tie for the Monday. So they do that every day, and then at the end, they have playoffs to determine who moves on and who stays in this. So that's how it goes for every group. Well, at least for Group 4 and Group 3, that's how it goes. So let's move over to Group 3, and here we can see Group 3 took place in May, so it's already over. For well, let me jump over. Let me see. Let's jump over to the Americas. Sorry, let's go there first. Yeah, Group 3 in Americas. I'm sorry, that was in June. So even they changed depending on where it's located. So, but that is over as well. And as you can see, they had a Pool A, a Pool B, and there's what the round robin looks like. They each played each other. You see how in this one, Jamaica, I guess Paraguay beat Jamaica 3-0. They won all their rubbers that day. Then lost to Bolivia 0-3. And then, anyways, the way it ended up was, and you know, a lot of these players are very unknown, and some of them aren't even ranked. But as it ended up, Bolivia actually beat Costa Rica in by the end of the week. They had the playoff on Saturday and Sunday. Paraguay beat Bahamas, so those two end up being promoted to Group 2. And the rest of them just played for spots and where they're going to be situated next year for seeding purposes. So, and you can go up here and see final standings. Bolivia, Paraguay promoted. We could look at these players. There's the list of players from Paraguay. If you know any, let me know, because I don't. Okay, there's Bolivia. And they were in the same pool, by the way. In fact, if we look at what they did in their round robin, Bolivia beat Paraguay in the round robin. Well, beat Costa Rica. Oh, I see. And then Paraguay beat Bahamas. So they both got through. But Bolivia looks like the dominant team. We can look at the Bolivia tennis players. Zabalis looks like a familiar name, but I don't think he's related to Horatio, who's from Argentina. Okay, so anyways, that's how that works. And then we have in Asia, Oceania. They actually went this week. So that Group 3, Asia, Oceania, went off this week. So let's just jump real quick over to Europe and go back to that again. Europe and Africa are actually together, usually together. It's called Europe/Africa, but they split them up for Group 3, and for some reason, instead of busting them, keeping them together and having them in Group 3 and Group 4, they decided to split them up and have them in Group 3, but once you go to Group 2, you'll see they're back together again. I don't know the logistics of all this. It's just the way it happens. They change this stuff pretty regularly. But anyways, as we can see here, this Europe one took place in May, so that's done. And as you can see, Greece, Baghdadis is from Greece. Oh, yeah, and Norway, they got promoted. And let's take a look here. Did Baghdadis actually play back in May? Nope, doesn't look like it. He must not have been feeling well. But these two teams got through. And again, I don't know anybody from Norway or Greece, but here you go. There's a lot more pools because there's a lot more teams. There's 4 pools instead of 2. And then you had the playoffs again. Greece beat Macedonia in a close one. And then Norway 2-0. They didn't play the third rubber, which is fine. That would be a doubles. They just blow that off. Anyways, Norway got through over Georgia. Georgia, that's pretty good for Georgia. That's not from Atlanta, Georgia. That's out near the part of the old Soviet Union. In fact, let's see here. Nah, I don't know anybody. Okay. Anyway, so promotion. Greece and Norway, good luck next year. They're in Group 2. And somebody should be relegated. Oh, no, they don't have, sorry, they don't have a Group 4 for Europe. That's right. So Asia is the only one who would have a relegation here because they're the only ones with a Group 4. Okay, and last but not least, when did they go off? May. Another one in May. This one's Africa. There's no way I'm going to know anybody here, I don't think. Let's see who you now you get it. Here's the pools. Again, there's a lot of teams, so again, I don't know why they don't just split it up to Group 4, but okay. Morocco and Egypt got through, and they're going to be in Group 2 next year. And do we know anybody from Morocco and Egypt? Anybody can tell me. Write to me. tenniscrier@gmail.com. Let's see. Mohammeds. I don't know these people. Okay. Morocco. No, don't know them. Thought I knew somebody from Morocco, but I could be wrong. Okay. I don't see them up there anyway. So, how did Morocco do? Looked like they did darn well. They didn't even lose a rubber, it looks like. on their way to the final. Neither did Egypt. So in the battle, Egypt took care of Zimbabwe and Morocco beat Madagascar. There you go. Okay, you see Rwanda down there? Yes, all these countries have teams. It's amazing. Finally, Asia Oceania. They're going to be going off this week, commencing, and they actually already started on Monday. And here's the teams. Again, you see the format down here, round robin, 8 nations and 2 pools. Only 2 pools here. Whoever does well here will get promoted. I think there might only be promotion. Yeah, there will be 2 promotions and 2 relegations down to the only group in Group 4, which is Asia Oceania. So there you go. Here we go again. Do we know any of these people? Philip King. I think I've known him a bit. That's from Hong Kong. And there's one other guy, some guy who's been doing pretty well, young kid, 16, but I might have the wrong spot here. But we'll come back to that later. Okay, so let's move on over to Group 2 playoffs, and there you see them. A lot of them have happened, as you see right up in here, April, February. They had the first round, the second round, and now the third round's being played for a chance to be promoted. All the relegations in Europe, Africa, you can see Europe and Africa are a lot of teams. Again, they have 2 promotions. If you jump to Asia and Oceania, you can only see 1 promotion, and the same with the Americas, 1 promotion. But all the promotional playoffs are being played this week. But now we're into, this is not the round-robin format anymore. This is a tie. This is a tie, and there's a home team. And this is how it goes for Group 2, Group 1, and then the World Group. There's a tie that goes on over the weekend, and then the winner take all. You have to win 5. You have 2 singles on Friday, doubles on Saturday, and then 2 singles if necessary on Sunday. So as you see, America, already the relegation's set to go. So once the Group 3 promotions are done, relegations will be, you can see Puerto Rico lost and Haiti. They're going to be moving on down. There was a good guy for Haiti I liked. I forget his name off the bat. Let me take a quick look here. Let's see if he played. I like this guy. Sajus. Is that it? Yeah, I like this guy. Seen him play. But anyways, he won, but then he lost a big one. Okay. And you can see his rankings. His ranking was better than this before, but you can just see these aren't the top players in the world, but they're still better than you and me, put it that way. Anyways, let's flip on back to the formatting. So those relegations are set, but we do have this week, we have going on a third round promotions for 8, and then 1 for Asia, 1 for Americas, and 2 for Europe, Africa. And if we just go over quick, we can see who is going to be relegated in Asia. You can see Lebanon and Syria are going to be relegated, and then and that happened already in April. And then in Europe, Africa, there's going to be 4 relegations that happened in April, and you can see Estonia, unfortunately, they've had some players, good players there. Not really. Tunisia, isn't that the land of Jaziri? Did Jaziri play? So let's check this out. So this is kind of the fun stuff. You can see if some of these players from yep, there he is, Jaziri, and he won his 2 matches, but they lost their doubles, and that's why Tunisia got relegated. To Belarus, who has Ignatic, Max Mirny, good for the doubles, and that's probably a big reason they won the doubles. So Belarus is staying in Group 2. Tunisia's gone, Hungary will be gone, and so will Benin, if I'm saying that right. Anyways, so there's going to be 2 promotions this week. Let's take a look at these real quick. As you can see, we have, this is going to be in El Salvador. This is going to be El Salvador and Venezuela. And it's going to be a plexi-pave outdoor and Dunlop Championship all surface. That's a cheap ball. That's a cheap ball, and some of these countries will use just the amateur balls. It's good enough. Pseudo, some good Venezuelan guys on the right. Martinez, they're actually good. Arevalo brothers from El Salvador have really come on pretty strong, actually. So it's going to be a good one. Then we have this one's in the Philippines versus New Zealand. New Zealand usually has a better crop than this. You can see New Zealand on the right. I think they're missing, I can't remember the names offhand, but that may not be good enough to get it done, but it may. Huey's pretty good over here, but he's kind of fallen lately. Yeah, they still might get it, New Zealand. It's in the Philippines, though, on clay. So teams get to pick a surface that maybe hurts the other team or helps themselves, or both. Yonex Tour Ball, not used that often. Used in San Jose indoors when they had that tournament, which is now canceled. Anyway, Latvia and Finland, and we know who's in Latvia. Galbis, our friend Galbis. He's the big guy. Juska has fallen of late somewhat. Lebitis is a new kid coming up, though he's ranked pretty low. As you see, he's young yet. Oh, he's not that young, actually. Yeah, he's just not that good. All right. And then, of course, here we are with Finland. They've had some better, Jarkko Nieminen, but he is obviously wasn't able to take part. He just got done in a tough U.S. Open. So, anyways, this is going to be in Latvia. Plexipave indoor. Dunlop Fort All Court. That's going to be pretty quick. Okay. And what else do we have? And then last but not least, another chance for promotion to Group 1, Portugal and Moldova. Portugal's done really well, but they unfortunately have to go to Moldova. That, of course, is not going to pick clay, because Portugal would love that. They're going to play a root court hard indoors and a Dunlop Fort All Court, which may not be as slow as you think. Root court indoors is known to be slow, that hard court, but a lot of it's the kind of conditions you have, like in Russia, and the indoor conditions. It's cold in the winter, and then they have to jam up the heat, causes a lot of static electricity, which can really grab the felt of the ball and slow it down. I don't think you're going to have that here in Moldova. So these conditions will be faster. But root court is pretty soft acrylic, won't bounce that high. But anyways, but it won't be that fast. It'll be medium fast, indoor, normal. And I think that will hurt Portugal. Sousa and Elias. So Portugal has the better team, but it probably hurt them. Okay, and then let's move over to Group 1. We're getting closer, and there it is, Group 1, the relegations. Now, the Group 1, the opposite of Group 2. The actual promotions have already been done, so we can have the World Group playoffs. So again, 2 in the Americas. Well, this one's a little bit more. 2 in the Americas, 2 promotions in Asia, and then 4 in Europe, Africa. So that's a total of 8. And then there were 8 losers in the first round of the World Group. So those 8 losers play these 8 promotions from the Group 1, and that's called the World Group playoffs, which we're having right now. Whoever wins those gets to be in World Group next year, and the losers have to be in Group 1 again. So, or Group 1 for the whatever. So here we already had the Group 1 already, as you can see, but they already won it. We got Ecuador won. That's a big upset over Chile. Chile's not the same without Fernando Gonzalez. Ecuador's been coming up well. Colombia does really well with Geraldo and Fala. And then down here, this is going to be, well, anyways, that's going to be the relegation playoff between, we'll do that right now. Dominican Republic and Chile. As you can see, the Crier's way behind. But anyways, my man Victor Estrella, who I saw live, and I showed the camp my Dominican Republic shirt at the U.S. Open qualifying. But Victor is on the team, and they're going to try to beat Chile and stay in Group 1. All right, and then other ones we have. Well, let's just move over to the other parts. Relegation in Asia, America. Chinese Taipei and Indonesia are going to fight it out. Rungkat's a really good performer in Davis Cup for Indonesia, and Chinese Taipei has Hensen Liu is usually there, but he's not there now. He must be resting. He's tired from the U.S. Open and what have you. South Africa is going to try to stay alive. Rick DeVost and company, but they're missing their guy Kevin Anderson. That's a big blow. And Slovakia is pretty good. They should be able to take this. And it's actually, I'm sorry, Slovenia. This is Slovenia. It's actually red clay that's going to hurt the South Africans who like the hard. And the extra duty ball, oh, it's outdoor. That's interesting. But extra duty really is going to be slow in the clay. Really, all that heavy felt that it has, it's not really made for clay. So I guess they're really going to try to slow things up. But, Kavchek and Blazrola, my man from Ohio State, and Zemja will like it quicker a little bit, especially Zemja and Kavchek. But they think that Wilson ball's going to be fast, but with that extra duty, interesting. But that's probably really going to hurt DeVost in them, as long as Kavchek and Zemja don't fall over from fatigue. Okay. And then, so that's all the action going on in there. And, last but not least, Slovak Republic and Sweden. Again, this is to avoid relegation to Group 2. Sweden's really taken a hit without Robin Soderling, so the Slovaks will probably get it, especially because it's in Slovakia. Indoors, Deco Color. Deco Color does not have cushion in it like Deco Turf, so that is hard acrylic and fast. And the Wilson, but the extra duty ball, again, extra duty is a lot of extra felt on that Wilson ball. It is too heavy for clay. but they're using it in the other play. And then it gets really sticky indoors. What happens is all that static electricity I talked about, which shouldn't be too bad in the Slovak as long as it's not too cold outside and they don't have to jam up the heat. Heat really creates that, heat can create a lot of static electric charge, but either way, that it's really, you're supposed to use the regular duty, which is a lighter felt. So I don't know why they're going to do this. That's going to slow things down a bit. Maybe because they fill the deco colors so fast, even the Slovakians are having trouble with it. But that should definitely, maybe, I guess they're trying to hurt Sweden with that, or it's just something they feel is better for them. Certainly the points won't be as long. It will be a faster tennis, which will help Lacko and Martin, who tend to fatigue a lot. And I don't even know Kleisen can play because he's so fatigued. Okay. So lastly, we go over to World Group Playoffs. Now, all those promotions that I just talked about from Group 1 are going to play the World Group Playoffs, and we're going to have Ukraine. I think the Ukraine, actually we can take a quick look. Look, we can jump back here. There we go. Let's take a quick look here. I think the Ukraine, it's weird because they don't just take the promotions and match them up with the losers. Some of the losers play the losers and some of the promotions play the promotions, and I never understood the logic of that. As you see here, oh, there's the Ukraine at the bottom. They beat Sweden. So there you go. They did that in April. So there you go. Ukraine's going to play Spain, but that's going to be tough because Nadal's playing. It's in Madrid. They could have played slower surface, which would have hurt Ukraine more, but maybe because Nadal, Verdasco, and company played a lot of tennis, Robredo, and they don't want the points too long. So Madrid will be pretty quick, but it's bouncy, and that would be great for these guys. These guys should power through that. And Spain will stay in the World Group. It's weird. Spain's the team of the decade from the last decade, and even this decade so far. They've been incredible. The depth of Spain is maybe unheard, never been seen before in tennis history. And yet they're trying to just survive into the World Group because they've had so many physical issues with Ferrer, Nadal, and a bunch of people this year. They just weren't able to you know, they're like not only their second team, they had their third team in earlier in the year, and it wasn't good enough. But they'll be fine. The Netherlands and Austria, that's going to be in Dutch in Netherlands. They have their own special ball, Dunlop Fort Max TP tournament play, and that KNLTB is the signature ball of the Netherlands. That's the Netherlands' own. I forget what you call it, but their own people. So this ball is relatively quick. It's made for wet conditions, moisture, like they have. In Holland has a lot of moisture. It's practically under sea level almost. So this ball is very special. It moves a lot faster through moist conditions than regular balls. And then, but that's clay indoor. That will help Austria a bit, but overall Netherlands will probably have the advantage. You have Croatia and Great Britain. This is in Croatia. They're going to use that slower clay court in Umag, but you know, conditions aren't that slow this time of year though. And then the Dunlop Fort clay ball is not that slow either, so it won't be that slow, but it probably will hurt Great Britain a bit. But Murray's going to be there, so that's a big problem. And there's no Cilic, no Karlovic, only Dodic by himself. So even though conditions favor Croatia, and no clay is that slow anymore, including Holland. Holland has a hard base underneath, so they don't get all the bad bounces. And even Umag's hardened their base up lately, so there's really no slow clay anymore. You can put some extra top dressing on top to help a bit with that. And then what else do we have? Switzerland, Ecuador. Ecuador is pretty new to all this, and it's in Switzerland. No Federer, but Wawrinka will be good enough there. Rebound ace indoor. It will have a nice bounce to it, but with the regular duty. Now there's the Wilson U.S. Open regular duty. That will go pretty fast, and that's going to be hard for Ecuador. There's another rebound ace by Germany, who's always got bad luck with their draws, but here they are trying to survive, and they should stay in World Group. They're so talented, they shouldn't fall to Group 1. Brazil, I think, will go down, especially it's indoor in Germany. Rebound ace again. A Dunlop Fort tournament. The Dunlop Fort tournament is kind of oblong. It's a strange shaped ball. They used it a couple years ago and stopped using it because it moves through the court really low and pretty fast, unless the surface is really slow. So it's a really kind of one of the quicker balls left in the world, and it's not that big either. So this, yes, the rebound ace isn't that fast, but it's not. It's about a medium-ish, and that's what they said they sanded it like, but I can guarantee you with that Dunlop Fort tournament ball, this is going to be pretty quick, and that's going to be trouble. It's going to be a nice little bounce that Kohlschreiber can deal, but that's going to be trouble for the clay court guys, even Bellucci. Okay, and that's Brazil's clay court. Poland and Australia, and this is in Poland, but no Janowicz. His back injury will not permit him to play, and that's a big blow to Poland. Kubat seems really exhausted of late after his big Wimbledon. They're in trouble. I mean, Hewitt looks really good. Tomic looks pretty good again. They're going with clay indoor, but that's not going to really hurt Australia that bad. Maybe Tomic a bit. It might hurt Tomic a little bit, but it shouldn't be. It should be fine for Hewitt. And the Dunlop Fort clay court ball's not. It's a pretty fast ball, pretty good. Poland's conditions, it can get pretty moist if they let the humidity build up in the indoors up there. It can get nice and cool and damp. So if they let it get cool and damp in there and make the clay and pile a lot of top dressing, it could get pretty slow and hurt Australia. But if they don't do that, and they may not, because if they do that, Kubat could get really tired from long points. And Priersny, the other guy who now has to play because there's no Janowicz, Priersny has had a lot of injury issues, so they may not make it slow enough. They need it slow, but you need, how do you help your players if Hewitt doesn't want it too slow, but Kubat can't have it too slow either, then what do you do? So, go for your players. They're probably just going to make it for their players, and it's probably going to be a little faster, which will probably be fine for Hewitt and Tomic. All right, Israel and Belgium. In Belgium, red clay. Belgium can be dead slow, indoors or outdoors, just because of the buildup of humidity and cool dampness there. But the Babolat team ball is a pretty fast ball. So the big question is, are they going to compact the surface hard and not put too much top dressing? And with guys like Roches, Darcis, and Goffin, who was supposed to play but injured his wrist in the practice, unfortunately, broke his wrist. Incredibly unfortunate. But anyway, Belgium is a lot of quick players, so I don't think they're going to have the surface too slow. That won't then that's not going to really hurt Dudi Sela and Weintraub and the rest of the Israelites, because they don't want it too slow, but Belgium doesn't want it too slow either. So again, what do? You have to go with what's good for you, which may be good for the other guy too. There's nothing you can do. So there's really not going to be any advantage, in my opinion, there. Last but not least, Japan and Colombia. Colombia is a clay court guys. If they can play hard courts, Geraldo and Falo are both really good at taking it quick because of the altitude in Colombia. They have a lot of altitude tennis, altitude clay, which is fast as heck. So they can handle it, but still, hard court is hard court. It's very different. It's hard on the legs, on the body. And the Japanese love hard court, Nishikori and company. The issue is going to be who's physically okay. The Japanese and the Colombians have been struggling badly physically, all of them this year. So that's going to be the big thing. But the Japanese were going to make it outdoor, and they decided to close Ariake Coliseum. They have a roof there. They decided to close it at the last second and make it indoor. I guess you're allowed to do that. So that's going to speed up conditions. It's a deco turf, but I guarantee you it's sanded pretty fast. I don't care what they say. I think they're saying it's medium, but I doubt it. And the Streaksome ball, it used to be like a medium ball, but today with all the balls getting bigger and slower, it's now on the faster side. It hasn't changed much. So the Streaksome ball is going to be pretty quick. So it's going to be overall pretty quick. Geraldo will probably have a better chance than Fala, but Fala can be okay. I like him better. It's going to be interesting. Fala and Geraldo can do it, but if Nishikori and Sueda and them are healthy, they should win, especially with the crowd behind them. And last but not least, the World Group. That's the World Group playoffs to get into the World Group or to get knocked back down to Group 1. And here's the World Group playoffs this year going on. Well, the actual World Group, this is for the right to go to the championship in November. This is the semifinals, and we have Serbia and Canada. The best teams lately have been Serbia, the Czechs, Argentina, and Spain. Those 4 teams. Spain got knocked out, and I already said why, because of their injury issues. But there we have 3 of the 4 there again. The new one that came in was Canada out of nowhere, but you could see it coming with Raonic really improving and Pospisil. Problem is now they also had a home court, or I should say home stadiums last matches, or last ties. So this tie they have to go on the road to Serbia. It's going to be an indoor clay. Thank goodness it's not outdoor. That will help a little bit to Canada. But the fact that it's clay, Dunlop Fort clay court ball, again, not too slow. It's actually pretty quick. And in Serbia, it's pretty quick weather this time of year. And unless they make the surface real slow, but Tipsarevic said they haven't, and I believe it, because Djokovic's going to be exhausted from U.S. Open, so they're not going to want it too slow in long points. And Tipsarevic's been struggling all year with his body, so in my mind, and they've lost some depth with Troitsky being suspended, so it's not going to be that slow, which isn't going to really hurt Raonic that much. Now, the talk has been that they did add extra top dressing, kind of like Spain did during the week when they were against Ukraine. Stikowski and Degopolov for the Ukraine both said as they practiced on Monday, there wasn't much clay, and as the days progressed, more and more clay was appearing. So that's Spain for you. Spain is tricky as heck. They're really good at this stuff, getting the right conditions. But Serbia, I think, has added some more clay, so it will make it a little slower. But But Raonic may have a chance. Pospisil may be too exhausted. He looked really tired at the U.S. Open. But Raonic is pretty tired too, but so is Djokovic and Tipsarevic, so everybody's tired. So Serbia is the favorite. Maybe an upset, but I doubt it. This one, the Czechs and Argentina, our Czechs are a big favorite because they got through their last round without... They were lucky they played Kazakhstan, which wasn't too hard. And Kazakhstan's clay surface they like it a little fast and bouncy, but due to the weather situation there, it didn't turn out as fast as it was in February. April was a lot slower. They have tricky weather conditions in Kazakhstan. It's right on the border between, below it is desert, and above Kazakhstan is the cold humidity of Russia. And they're right in between, so they can get... In February, the indoors there played quicker than it did in April, and it kind of screwed Kazakhstan. And the Czechs were able to win with Rosol and Hayek. And Hayek and Rosol were the second team because Stepanik and Berdych were both not fit. So they were able to pull that out. It was amazing. Rosol stepped up big time. So did Hayek. So now Berdych is playing well again. He's not 100%, but he's well. And Stepanik's definitely looking good. And Argentina's in trouble because they don't have Del Potro. They don't have Nalbandian, who's hurt again. And Monaco, this is an indoor court. It's a Nova acrylic cushion, Nova cushion, which they use in the championships against Spain. But I can tell you what, that they say it's really fast. It's not that fast. It's okay, maybe medium fast. But the funny thing is they used a faster ball. I think they used the U.S. Open against Spain for the championships. This one's a head ATP, which is heavier, but it's lively, very lively, so it can be popped really hard by the big guys. So I think that's for Berdych. But plus Stepanik, because he likes to keep it flat and low and play games at the net and get to the net. So overall, that's going to really help the Czechs. The ball's going to stay a little lower than it did against Spain. And I think Monaco's going to have issues. Though the next guy who's going to play for Argentina is Leonardo Meyer. The thing is, he will like these conditions better, but he's not the same kind of player, and so the Czechs are big favorites. So we're probably going to have a Czech-Serbian final, but we'll see. That's a wrap.